0. We'll give the folks a little bit of time to come in. Let me go in here. It's going to take a second. Let's see. There it is. Okay. All right. So let me go in here and send it through the network. All right. Got some people coming in now.
Good.
Oh, I think my internet's a little bit slow. Or it must be Facebook.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's Facebook. There it is. Okay, got that one. And then let me share it to the studio. Hello, Australia. Michelle Ballou and Sue Patty. Good to see y'all. Let's see here. Barbie Steiner. 21 people now. Okay. It's filling up. Okay, so we got that done. Cricket Holden, Sabrina Cardillo. Let me check the sound. Let's see. Hello, Monica Peterson. All right, let's see here. Here we go. 26 people. Okay, we're good. All right. All right. Teresa Hunt from New Mexico. Sophie Thornalley's here. Michael Van Patten. Linda Caraway. Hello, Linda. Tina Skiles, Cheryl Ann, Julia Dudley, and Crystal Gonzalez. 31 people and counting. Thank you for all the hearts and the thumbs up. It's going to be a great show today. We've got a beautiful brother on with us who's been showing us the way for 10 years. He just told me 10 years he's been doing his writing and sharing his love every single day. It's been a real breath of fresh air to see what he's been writing over the last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, as there's been a lot of extreme energies, a lot of extreme polarities merging, a lot of people processing stuff, physical ascension symptoms and so on. But every day he's a light, what I would say a light with a dose of realism. So welcome to SoulSpeaks 5D, Nicky Hamid, New Zealand. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks so much. And I wanted to say right from the outset that I so honor what you're doing, and I was just thinking, what could I say to Todd? And this was just this picture. I got this picture of us each being a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, right? And we've got our own, where every piece on the whole puzzle is unique. Yes. But the puzzle, as we fit into we slot into the puzzle, the whole puzzle picture changes, morphs. So our picture, once we fit in, starts to change, and every new piece is changing. So it's like changing all the time. And you and the powers that be, and you and the powers that be, knew exactly who would be good at this job you're doing now, because you are amazing, and I so honor what you're doing.
Thank you very much, and I just want to remind everybody that I'm only half of it. Morgan's the other half of it. I mean, I'm the one out in the front, but she, as I've said many times, she's actually the one that came up with the name SoulSpeaks 5D, and
right.
She's provided that feminine, divine energy, and kind of led the way, really. So it's been. But I appreciate you saying that, and coming from you, that means a lot.
Well, it's a double piece. It's 2 separate pieces that are locked in, locking into the whole, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely. Yeah, and it's been a really good run here. She filled up the schedule for, I think it's now been 11 days, 5 shows, and we've got another one today, and we got 4 or 5 tomorrow, ending with Judith Cassell at the end of the day out of South Africa. who is always actually has an energy very much like yours, in my opinion. Although she's feminine, she's just, it's like talking to I don't know, like a fairy tale queen. She's like
Well,
she's
I'll
like
take that. I'll take
yeah,
that as well.
yeah. And so you'd be like the fairy tale king, It's
I'll be
so.
queen. I'm quite happy to be queen as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what Judith wants to do. We got 51 people in the house. Hello, everybody. We've had a lot of congruency on the shows over the last 10, 15, 20 days, really in 2019. It's not gone unnoticed by me. It's a reflection of the energy that we're all experiencing as we process things on an individual level. I'm convinced that we're all pulling tighter and tighter and tighter, and hearing our higher selves, and actually following through on the little hints and synchronicities and signs and omens they give us. So I feel a lot of continuity. So I'm really excited to see what Nicky has to say, because we've had a lot of different perspectives over the last 3 weeks, and everybody has said, yeah, this is new. Something's changed. Something magical's in the air, regardless of the physical ascension symptoms we're getting and the things that people are talking about. I think everyone knows we had Morgan and I had a portal appear above the house we're staying in 3 or 4 nights ago, doorway, and there's just been some extraordinary things happening. So what's been happening in your world from your eyes, Nicky, and on a personal level, and what are you seeing happening?
Well, there is so many things. There's so much happening, and what's happening for me personally is that things I've seen in the past, because it was like I've slowly gone through ascension, and now come back. Now come back and going through again. And so my life telescoped the path of ascension.
Yeah.
And so what's happening for me is that I'm reliving those aspects and truths, as it were, that I saw a lot, many years ago, but now seeing them real and, if you like, permanent.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Years ago, when because I had a lot to do with helping people with their minds, the mental mind, if you like. My the training I was given was that how to unlock the mind, how to bring bridges from where people are at through that miasma of the little mind.
Yeah.
But one of the things I saw many, many years ago was, do you know, I don't know what it's called, but in Star Trek, there was the black guy who had that band. He was blind and had the band on his head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I used to see that band on everyone.
Wow.
There was a band across here, and there was a whole lot of sections with lights, colored lights, and they'd flicker like a dial.
Wow.
And you could tell left or right what color they were and what they flickered, where the person was coming from, if you like, their awakeness, their awareness, and where they're stuck in the mind and so on. And I used to see this, and gradually I took it in. So in my work, I was using it without even thinking about it. But now it's come back because I'm seeing this on people.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I'm seeing a balancing going on between the left and right side of the lights. It's like it rather reflects the left and the right side of the brain.
Wow. What do you think that means? I mean, do you think? Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of ways we can explain it, but the way I would see it, because I see sacred geometry and mandalas particularly, but I think in sacred geometry, but it's not just a 3D flat, a linear image. They're alive. They're alive and moving. And the way I'm seeing it now, what's happening is this: big integration between the left and right hemisphere.
Wow.
There's also the big integration between the left and right side of us, the masculine, feminine, all that. And so that's a larger integration. But up here we have this integration, and it appears like two circles. Now, what happens when you have the two circles crossing? What's in the middle?
That's
Vesica,
the
Vesica
Pisces, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And there we stand in the middle. There is in the middle a gap between the two brains, as it were. The intuitive, higher, super conscious brain, and the linear brain. The linear, the analytical, the receptive, the holding station, as it were. So these two are crossing over, and they're both alive. They're both alive with atoms. You know, they're vibrating. It appears like fairy dust. You know, Tinkerbell's fairy dust, alive in those spheres, and they're intermingling as we go down the middle. As you go down to the heart, or the feminine comes up to the heart.
Yeah.
Going down the middle, it's in the still point, or in that place where there's this integration, this crossover between the two, which is bringing the integration of mental mind and spiritual mind, if you like, or analytical and super consciousness, and then mingling together in the middle.
Yeah, that resonates.
So we're changing. And so these lights are changing. There's more balance. As we start to ascend, and people are moving and consciously taking it, those lights start switching on. Because in some cases, you look at people on the street, they're all there, but they're not very alive yet.
They're not vibrant. They're not moving.
They're not moving much. But you can certainly see when the person is open, and innocent, and when the person is using their mind to control or whatever. You can see that by the activity of that band.
Wow.
What's happening? There's much more going on here on this right side, and in the past it's been fairly flat for a lot of people. And now it's much more active, and so there's this crossover, this crossover going.
That's a great explanation. Yeah. And the fairy dust thing. I had a this morning, and I got up and fed my friend's cat, and I went and laid down in bed next to Morgan, and I started to, in a way, I've seen a lot of things in the third eye and actually materialize in different divine episodes. But I was laying there, and it's so strange what you're saying about the left and the right. I receive tones on the right from the feminine and tones on the left from the masculine. And so I was stating or declaring for assistance. And I said, assist me, assist us in this, and this. It's something I've been doing since January the 1st because I was led to do it. And very clearly popped in front of my face, which doesn't normally happen, was Father God, was a white light, was Mother Goddess, was Yeshua, Magdalene, and Archangel Michael. And they each had their own distinct color. Mother Goddess was a pink rose. Michael was blue. Yeshua was gold, and Magdalene was a violet. And it all just came together. And then when you said the fairy dust thing, I had forgotten about that. And then all of a sudden, I saw all these. It looked like fairy dust. They just all sprinkled on over the vision, and that was the kind of like the confirmation, like, we got you. You're good. We're here. It's so that's, and it was a very the Vesica Pisces. It was a very centered congruence of the two sides.
Yes,
So that really resonates what you said.
Yeah, and they're like revolving into each other, into each other, and we're in the middle. And we don't have to do anything but be in the middle.
Yeah.
Was it yesterday or the day before you were talking to Jason? I saw that one.
Yeah.
And you talked about your experience on the bed.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Where you're sitting and you're just allowing and watching. Yeah, that's being in the middle. And so the integration can happen because, this we're calling it fairy dust for the moment, but it's multicolored.
Yes.
And it's another way we could say, because when I look into, if you like, the black space and I see atoms, they're like little points, tiny points of light, and they're moving and swaying and swirling and so on. And you could think of them as atoms or quantum particles. And as you allow, sit and allow, there is this integration, the bringing together of the two. And it happens in a totally natural way. And anything that's of conflict dissolves. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and that's what kind of started coming to me in that conversation with Jason. And it's kind of expanded because he was saying, this was a period of time where everything is exponential. So your opportunity is exponential, 400% and so on. And I said, let me tell you what happened to me, because it didn't feel that way. It was like, and what I got out of it, what I'm getting out of it is that whole center that you're talking about, you still feel human. I was laying there and I was saying, okay, I feel this and I feel that and I accept that and I allow that. And then it just like fairy dust, just like sprinkled through my body. It didn't go out to the universe and transmute. It actually just dissipated and evaporated within my body, or maybe transformed within my body. But the thing that I really pulled out of it, because he said, well, that's it. That what you're doing, that processing, what we're all doing in our own way, is what actually expands us the most. And I was struck by the fact that carries the human carries its consciousness in that state, instead of pushing it away and as we did for so long and tried to pull the 5D and the higher elements. No, the human is an equal partner. So when you talk about this Vesica Pisces, I see it too, that space as being the higher self and the human self.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It is one, because the little mind, the mental mind, is the human mind. That's it, as it were, the human mind. But where we get where there gets confusion is because you think of expansion as going out, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the mandala and you look into a mandala, what happens is you're going towards a point or coming out from the point. Now, what's the difference? There's no difference. So, in other words, coming into the body is not non-expansion.
Right.
It can be expansion also.
Yes.
Because it's like coming into a point. And I like to say, I am a point of light within the mind of God.
Yes. Yeah. That's very good. I saw. Yeah.
And so that coming to a point can be just as expanding as going out.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
we had a go ahead.
No, I was going to say the human has been so maligned, being human, that we still have these little doubts and thoughts about being something more than human.
Yes.
But this is blessed. This is enormous.
Yes.
Coming into body, coming into density, and melding it into ourselves, becoming one. And so the two becoming one is very beautifully represented in the Vesica Pisces, in the birth of Christ. It's also, if I could say, that same dynamic is happening in the gut, because we have, if you like, the brain mind, the heart mind, and the gut mind.
Yeah.
Right? And so that same Vesica Pisces is happening in the gut, and those with a feminine body are moving through that direction to their heart. And so, you know, that gut knowing, that gut knowing is having this blending too, the blending of the emotional and the feeling and the higher feeling and the emotion. Higher feeling often referred to as the Buddhic.
That's it. That's a very good point. Like the blending of the intuitive and the emotional, because the emotional carries a huge impact, and some people have talked about that in the last few shows. And I think, like I've said on the shows, for me, that was a big step for me, allowing myself to feel emotions of anger, or sadness, or whatever they may be, instead of repelling them or resisting them, you know, and trying to disassociate myself from them. But so that makes sense, because we were talking about this yesterday on some of the shows, and it was like, how do you bring in the emotion into the equation? But I've not heard anyone say the gut mind. That's a very, very good way to describe it.
Because it is. I mean, your gut has this huge community of microbes, and they know exactly what to do for the body to bring it back to vitality and health. And that's why they're working so hard to bring up the toxins. I mean, this body is our indicator, isn't it? It tells us now, and it tells us where we are here on Earth, you know, on this planet, in this dimension, and it is all the time signaling. And so the gut knows.
Yes. Yeah. And it's starting to embody too.
Yeah.
In the physical.
Yeah.
I just seem to have I'm not resisted this or anything, but I was getting a message over the last, you know, couple of week, and it had affected my physical body. And so I was, I don't know, I guess I can say this is a Soulogy, but whenever I would urinate, I would have, toward the end, this burning. But I knew it wasn't any type of condition, and I kept getting from the higher mind, it's coffee. And I love coffee, but I'm not attached to anything. And after about 3 or 4 days, I thought, well, maybe I need to honor this. So I said, I'm done with coffee. And sure enough, the next 2 or 3 days, it's clear. So that the body is speaking clear
all the time. All the time. That's what illnesses, all the illnesses, and this is why we're getting so many, because we're not listening to the body, or we haven't listened. So now it's got a detox. Because everything's coming up because it's leaving, and the body knows it's going to take on its own blueprint.
Yes.
And we have to love it enough and respect it enough and honor it enough to listen. And that listening for me is a simple thing, you know, to put away all these diets and what's good for you and so on, because we're all so different.
Yes.
And I think I've said to you before, sometimes, you know, it is good to have a hamburger, you know, to ground one. Doesn't mean to say everyone should or you should ever. But your body will tell you.
Yes.
If we listen, it's telling us all the time, because it's leading us home as we come home, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like another one of those mergings that you're talking about, the heart and the gut, and it's this. It's almost like you've got this physical Merkaba, and you've got the etherical Merkaba, and this is what's happening. It's not an etherical Merkaba; it's actually the merging of the two, and which is what we're doing here, is embodying into the physicality. And so, I guess, I mean, I've noticed it in myself. I mean, I've heard it coming on slowly, but it really has ramped up. Ramped up since right around the first of the year, and there's just acceptance, you know, like with the coffee. I just said, you know what, I know what I'm hearing, and I'm going to do it. You know, that's all I can do. You know, but I agree with you too. I agree with you too that everybody's different. You know. It's
we each doing the work. The only way is to do the work ourselves. There's no shortcuts, but It's all beautifully designed if we listen primarily to our own and stop changing our decision because of what we hear out there.
Yeah.
We make a change in decision on the basis of our gut feeling, our heart knowing, and our intelligence of design, wisdom.
Yeah, because the body is the same intelligent design. It's just in the physical matter. And
absolutely.
This is kind of where we're at now. It's it's actually happening. But yeah, we've been talking about this, for these years. You've been doing this 10 years, and we're going from carbon-based to light body, but this is actually happening.
Yeah.
People are experiencing things, and it's happening. And that's what I was going to ask you. In those things that you see, what's different about it now? I know you said it's moving more on the right side, but I guess in terms of numbers, are you seeing more people that are registering as being awake and blending that in that Vesica Pisces?
Sure. Because as I said to you before, with those lights before they weren't so active. Now they are. There's many more of those lights active. And there's many more on this side because it tends to be a bit quiet and very little showing in the frequency bands on that side. Well, now with everybody who, for example, comes on your program has those lights going. There's still lights to work on here, but we don't actually have to work on them.
No,
because this Pisces, this Vesica Pisces, is what it's saying is, be in your still point, lie in your bed and just watch.
Yeah,
and watch it disappear. Recognize it or not.
Yeah,
it may be just analysis, no more analysis.
Yes.
Because when you're sitting in that place, that starts to move faster and does the work of clearing, does the work of dissipating, of transmuting. It does it. This is a dispensation. This is what we've been given now. And it's available to everyone, not just those who are awake, everyone. It's just an awakeness, being able to go to the still point, even for a minute.
And I guess
do it as much as you can in your life, in your day.
Yeah. And I guess that's what shocked me so much. I'm going to use that word, shocked me, on my own personal journey. Even having my relationship with Morgan, there's so much I've learned, and in my divine union, and just being able to see the divine feminine's viewpoint perspective. But on an individual level, it's like if I use the example of allowing myself to feel sadness, or allowing myself to feel fear, or whatever it was or is, there's something about doing that chatter stops. And when the chatter stops, it evaporates.
I think the biggest, not stumbling block, but the biggest thing about this now, if you're following this this line, is convincing yourself that it can be that easy.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's the hardest part is getting used to it. Because you would think it would be some yogi guru-ish type of process of sacred geometry and this and that and hearing, and it's not. It's actually the human part of us. It is the human that you're I don't know, that's just feeling it all, right? And
perhaps we should go back to the ancient tradition when they used to talk about God or the universe. Are you there, Todd? Are you there? Lost you.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you?
Okay. You're back again.
Yeah. If I pop out, just keep going. I'm having a little trouble with my. But I'm good.
Okay. When they used to talk, the yogis and the adepts and those wise ones who are talking about the universe and God and all of that sort of thing. Always at the end of their discussion, they used to say, neti neti, which means whatever we've been talking about is not it.
Yeah, that's it.
Because it's true. I mean, we're talking and we get it. We get what I call grokit. Grokit. That comes from the book Stranger in a Strange Land. It was very popular in the 70s. To grokit means to intuit it and know what's being said without words. Yeah. But you see, the ancients knew it, and so they said, neti neti. Well, what are the mystery schools? The mystery comes from the Greek word muin, which means silence. The truth is beyond words. Yeah. Shut up. Yeah. There's nothing to say.
Yeah. Get at it. Get at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the monk who went to the Taoist master and said, Master, is the Tao that can be spoken of not the eternal Tao? And the master said, yes, but it's a pity to say so. So, yeah, we're speaking and we're playing and we're sharing, and that's beautiful. But none of it's it.
That's true. Yeah, and I've noticed that. Yeah, I've noticed that in these shows. I've watched it. You know, people used to come on. I mean, this is on this format 716th show, and I remember starting out. We didn't really know what we were doing. It was like, but people would come in, would say, oh, this person can channel, or this person got this transmission, this person got this download. And slowly I started to realize that the biggest activations were coming from the conversation of what am I going through? What am I feeling? You know, what happened to me? And it wasn't the words, it was the unspoken, or the nonverbal part of it, the intentions of the heart, the communion and fellowship and intention, you know, and so I totally resonate with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the way I've been taught, you see, I've never done a workshop in my life, never been to someone else's workshop, never done any courses. You know, it's kind of self-taught, although I was guided. But in my clinical practice and so on, it turned out that I just developed a bag of tricks, a whole bag of tricks. And those tricks were not to trick people, but it was to provide them with a way of seeing that would take them the next step through across their path. And you need many. So we got so many beautiful tools that are available. And they help. But like the boat that takes you, when you go into meditation, the boat takes you across that lake, you get to the other side, and you're going to walk on the island. You don't take the boat with you.
Yeah, that's just
you leave it. Yeah, and so our tools help us paint the picture or know. And so it's beautiful that we have so many different ways of coming. Yeah, but nobody's got it. Nobody's got the thing.
That's right. That's what's leaving too. You know, it's like you said about the eating. Everybody's different. And there's infinite tools, and everybody, you know, some things resonate with some people and some things don't. Yeah. So you're hearing less and less now. Even in the evolution of the shows, people used to say, "Well, you just need to do this, you just need to do that," and I always understood that whatever somebody's receiving, you know, that they share from their heart, it's always meant for them. It's always meant for them. It doesn't matter how complex and profound it is. It's meant for them on a personal level, and there's some type of parallel, universal message as well. But you're right; everybody's different.
Yeah, it is, and vive la difference.
Yeah, vive la difference.
Long live the difference, and it's beautiful to watch it. You know, but there's still there's still this little part of me that smiles when you hear things. You know, it's not a judgment; it's a smile. Yeah, I recognize that one, and that the game is playing out in many ways, but there's only one path.
Yeah.
There's only one path. But even it's not just when you get to that path, we don't even see it the same way, because there's many ways of seeing from the path, from the center.
Yeah, that's a great it's like the singularity, what it was seemingly a singularity, maybe we even call it three-dimensional, whatever, but there's a multidimensional, it's a multidimensional path. We just only were seeing it a certain way. And that's another thing that seems to be showing its face. I'm seeing this in the work I do with people, as you see, and that's multidimensionality is actually coming into our five senses. I mean, where you can see things with the depth and the diversity of multidimensionality.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so it boils down to always something very simple. Yeah. It's like we were saying before, how you process this, it's so simple. Duh.
Yeah. It's like, is it that easy? I mean, I was amazed. I know it sounded like and I've told the story like 10 times now, but it is. It's kind of like you said, shut up. Or get out of your own way. Because that's the only thing that's the only thing in your way.
Yeah, that's right. And so there's that sitting in your thoughts, like you lay down the bed. There's also the walking, or being anywhere you like, and finding your still point in your breath, hand on heart. It's being in that still point, and whatever's not in alignment starts to align itself just by us being there. Just by being there.
Yeah, I like that too. And I like what you said earlier too, because another thing that seems to be coming out is, we can say, I'm going to do it my way because it resonates, or we can say, I'm going to do it my way because we're resisting something. And what seems to be happening, as a lot of people have talked about processing and how it's affecting their bodies, it's showing up in their bodies. But it's also clearing from their bodies if they process it. But the point being is, the body's speaking louder, the universe is speaking louder, it's supporting us. But also, if we're ignoring ourselves, it's getting louder. The voice is getting louder, and the ramifications are getting more profound too.
And I think one of the places that we miss out on, if you like, and all this processing is the gut. Because the gut has these two sides going on all the time, and the integrating. And so it's listening to the body. And if you like, in a similar way, you listen to the heart. You put your hand on your heart and you get that feeling. And there's a yes and a no. There's yes, that's right for me, or no, it's not. And it's an absolute no, even if you don't know why, it's a no.
Yeah.
The gut has the same.
Yeah.
Because it can suddenly say to you, who've given up coffee, you need a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it could.
It could. And it may be what it needs just for that moment. Or it might need it for a week. Yeah.
That's true, because I don't know what it told me. All I know that it told me was this needs to go right now. And if you keep doing it, what you're feeling is going to get worse. Okay. But I actually thought that this morning, because I didn't get any sleep last night. And so when I got up this morning, out of reflex, I thought, well, I wish I could drink some coffee. But then it also made me realize how, when that had happened to me many times, and once I drank the coffee, then, the stimulant kicks in, but it altered me. It altered me energetically. And so I took note of that. I learned that.
Well, we're getting quicker and quicker at it. We're quicker and quicker at noting what's going on, but we're quicker and quicker discerning the difference between I want and it's right. And so we also need, if you like, the opportunities or the experiences in order to test this and get it and fine tune. But we don't have to look for the fine tuning. It's made available all the time by just going into your still point.
Yeah. Just listening, you know, which means one way or the other, the chatter stops. You know,
Yes.
it's just and it doesn't have to be deep meditation.
No,
and it doesn't
no.
have to take a long time either. Like you
Yeah.
said, it is moving faster.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And my litmus test is also the smile, the inner smile. When I'm on song, there's always that smile. Like I'll get the voice saying, "Don't do that," you know, or whatever, and you know it's your voice, and you know it's correct, and so you smile because you were going to do that.
Yeah.
You know? And there's that smile inside, and it's like a fatherly smile
Yeah.
of watching a kid getting up to mischief, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a non-judgment. It's yeah, I see you. I see you.
I tell you one thing I'd love to get your perspective on. A lot of us, you know, and I'm saying this to try to describe an energy, right? But a lot of us are moving around. We've given up the traditional homes and relationships and jobs and the things that your society tells you you're supposed to have. And we're listening to that fatherly voice, the motherly voice, and we're jumping on a plane or we're going here, we're going there. And none of it makes any sense. But these magical synchronicities and gifts fall in your lap and tell you, okay, you're on the right path. And it's, you know, but the difference is there's no guarantee. There's no, like, you know, in the old world, you build up your bank account, you get a house, and you have all this evidence and kind of a foundation. Maybe this is a different game now. This is like, follow this path and know that you will be taken care of. And that, like the other thing you're talking about, the ease of how easy it is to be in the Vesica Pisces, it's taking some getting used to. You know, how do you do that? And it's just, it seems like the Vesica Pisces thing you said, where you just take another step into the unknown. But God, it's trying on the human. What's your perspective on that?
Well, I think it is too. It's certainly trying on me as well. That you know, you don't know where it's going to lead you. But again, when I get to, it's fairly easy to get to that point within you where it's not like I don't care. I mean, whatever way, it's going to work out all right.
Yeah.
It's one time when I might look back, because I look back to see where I've come, how far I've come.
Yes.
And when I look back to see how far I've come, it's easy to see that I didn't know what was going to happen until it happened.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was going to do until I did it.
Yeah.
And it was all okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah.
And that's, if you like, the human reminder.
Yeah, and I think that's the perspective that is trying to get used to it, is the human, which I think must be connected to the full embracement of our divinity and eternal life and multidimensionality and so on. But the human experience has been one thing, and now this evolvement's occurred. But you're right. That's a great thing. To look back. You know, people had talked about that over the last couple of days. Cotton Hart did yesterday, and so she was citing somebody else from another show saying, "Hey, you look in the rearview mirror when you're driving a car to see where you are, you know, but you're saying look in the mirror to see where you were at that time, and you didn't know what the hell was going to happen anyway. So look where you are now, you know."
Yeah,
it's the feeling, or the feeling is the same feeling you have now.
Yeah.
So what are you worried about? I mean, I wish it was that simple, but
yeah,
you know,
but we do need some reminders, you know, just to put things into perspective. Like I have understood and worked with people, if you like, the shadow. There's still, but a lot of people still work with it, and I think there's a point when you stop looking back at the shadow.
Yeah,
because the shadow is just when the light doesn't get through the density, there's a shadow. There's always a shadow when you're here in 3D. But there's nothing to look back. We don't have to look back to those shadows.
Yeah.
But if you look back to how far you've come, from where you thought you were back there. It's
Yeah.
huge. It's huge.
It is huge. And what you
And
said,
so
and what you said was huge. You know, what you said was huge too. I just want to say it again because I'm just getting this. You look back to where you were, you're actually having the same thoughts. I'm having the same thoughts I'm having now, which is I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to keep listening to that voice. I'm going to keep talking to the universe. But if I look back, it's the same thing was happening. So what happened from that result? It goes back to that simple thing about, like you said, laying down. The Vesica Pisces is just laying down and allow.
laying down like a dog and going.
It is, though. You're right.
Yeah. And it is that. I remember when I was teaching at university, a course called Psychology East and West, and it was taking some of the major religions and looking at the psychology in it and how we would see our own culture if we saw through those eyes. You know, it was change. And in the booklet I gave the class, I put a quote in the beginning, and it said, "It all depends on trusting silence and laughing because it has to be said."
Yeah.
That's laughing out, trying to trip ourselves up.
Yeah.
When we know that it all depends on silence, being in the silence, being in the non-word, non-analysis.
Yeah.
And yet having knowledge and having wisdom, but there's a place where there's no thing.
Yeah.
And it's not just
Nicky. What is it called? Nicky. What's it called?
Netty.
Netty.
That's not it. And sometimes when I write on Facebook, I write something and I'm in the swing of it and probably ranting a little bit. And I say, whatever I've said is not it.
Yeah.
And it reminds me too that I'm playing with it as a truth, but it's not the truth. Nobody has the truth.
Yeah, that reminds me of that Buddha statement attributed to Buddha, which he says, you know, don't listen to anyone, not even me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, everything from the physical apparitions people are seeing in the skies and in their rooms and their worlds, and the greater discussion about. I talk to unicorns and I deal with the fairies, and it's even though it's not in the mainstream, the power of these frequencies are just impactful or more impactful than anything that actually gets any press.
Yeah.
And that's that wordless.
Yeah, right. For us, where we live, we've got a bigger property. We're selling it, actually. We had to. It's a beautiful property. There's a lot of nature there. But Glenn and I, Glenn's my wife, and we felt that there needed to be some change here on the property, because we have the star beings. There's a big dome over the property. It's a big light dome, and there are 4 star beings stationed there, and have always been there. But it's full of elementals, and we just felt the need for a protector elemental, as much for the elementals as it was for us. And Glenn was calling to them because we both see them. And I was down in the property further, and I came up, and she said, "I've called, and she's seen this being," but she wasn't quite sure what it was. And immediately, because I saw it, it was a senator. Wow. You know, that's a senator, and really big. I mean, it's really tall. And he had come as a protector, but also a protector and helper of the nature spirits. Now, we've got all kinds of nature spirits, and this will amuse you. We're down in one particular corner of our property, it's got a sort of an eerie feeling, you know, and a lot of people don't really like going in that part. So it's left to itself. But there are beings there, and I know them because I know I've seen these before, and I sort of built a relationship. And they're ogres, and they're about 3 foot tall, 3-4 foot tall. They're ugly as sin, you know, with warts and big noses and big feet, and they squat, you know, and they love scaring people. You know, they make faces and so on. So they give this eerie feeling, but they're to keep, you know, the curious away.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And I just laugh at them. And I take them a bit of tobacco because they seem to like tobacco for some reason. I don't know what they do with it.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. It's fascinating.
So and everywhere you go, I mean, every waterfall I go to, there's a guardian. And the guardian is normally something like a Pegasus or even a giant. And they're all from, you think, the fantasy realm, but no, these are real. These are real. And then we have the native fairies, as it were. And we have the fairies wherever you go, like the fairies are the nature spirits, a lot of them in Australia when I was there, are totally different. They look different to the ones here. They tend to take on the characteristics of the flora of the country.
Right.
It's a whole realm. There's so much to share.
Yeah. And yeah, I think more and more that's becoming, it's becoming, familiar or not familiar, but it's coming into play with the five senses, be it the eyes or whatever it may be. Now, you mentioned the star family. Have you seen more of a prominent presence of star family? I know you can see all these things, but I mean, are they becoming more visible or more prominent in terms of communications over these last?
I don't think so. I think so. I think it's like a withdrawal. They haven't actually withdrawn, but it's like we have to up our awareness, as it were. They're not going to come in and interfere. But then, and this need to have them really present is actually getting in their own way. So many people, you know. There's plenty of space, as it were, to communicate one-on-one with beings, but I don't think they're going to come in close. That's what I feel. In fact, it feels like not a withdrawal, but it's like a standing back.
Yeah.
The energy's strong.
Now, do you think that the elementals and the beings that, like you're describing on your property, do you think that they're coming into more of a presence? Yeah,
definitely.
And maybe maybe the two are related. As one was helping us get to that point. I don't know, but
there is a coming together in that way. But for me, it's like the elementals have been waiting primarily for us. For the veils gradually dropping for all realms. But when the creator gods left, they left the kind of presence that we would call Christ's presence. They took it with them. Because and so the elementals are bereft of that, and they get that from us. They get that from us. I don't mean to say they couldn't go on and evolve and so on, but we can honor them by our presence.
So we actually bring that to them. So as we as we become more of our true nature, we actually bring that to them.
Bring that to them, yes.
Yeah.
And if you like, I'm just saying this now, but don't take it as gospel, because we're just playing with we're playing here. That as the galactics have stepped back, the elementals have come forward.
Yeah.
It's like they're allowing Earth to have her say more, and the elementals are obviously so much more connected to Earth.
Yes.
And we are to connect to Earth. So it makes sense that if you want to connect, stop looking at the stars, but look at the woods and the trees.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just saying this as we speak, but it could make sense in relation to where we're going.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask you, how would somebody increase their awareness or their connection with the elementals? But I think you pretty much just answered it. I think you just by simply looking.
Yeah, looking and seeing and imagining. Imagine fairies, what they look like. I know that it may be partially colored by the movies and so on, but that doesn't matter. Yeah. How do you do it? And did you sense something there? And so imagine the face.
Yeah.
And it's like an interaction, they gradually become real. And there's a fairy sitting on my shoulder, and she says, she's only really small, and she says, tell them we're here, tell them we're here. They're everywhere.
Yeah. I feel more and more when I go outside. It's really just even the wind, the wind or noises or animals or
Well, I grew up being taught, from the theosophy. And there used to be pictures in the books that all the elements had devas, and they were they're beings. And so if you look, you can see, I see the devas in the trees, and there's a guardian deva for, a forest. And there's like a hierarchy, but these are beings, magnificent beings.
Yeah.
And they don't have human form, although they do have faces mostly. Yeah. And they're everywhere. And so the spirit of the wind is the spirit of the wind.
Yeah, exactly. And we bring that to them, that which we saw.
We bring something out extra, if you like, the Christed light. Just as the ascended masters bring things, it's a kind of love, and we're not reaching for it, but it's coming, it's within us.
Yeah.
But the Christed light is something that they've been starved of, as it were.
Yeah.
And just our presence and our willingness to interact and connect brings them, and it's like they can thrive and expand more.
It fits with everything on this ascension, with the dog chasing its tail scenario, when what you're looking for is right in front of you.
Yeah, that's right. It's all hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you before we go. I know I asked you this before, but the game has changed in 4 months since I saw you last. What advice would you give us as we head forward in this, in this transition that's changing so rapidly?
Yeah. Well, I think it's all, it's all about love. Got to be love. Love's got to come first. It's like I was saying to somebody today, love is the boarding pass for the stars, for other dimensions, whether you 12th, 100th, doesn't matter. Love is the boarding pass, and that's our ticket, and we are learning to experience more of that by applying it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's the self journey at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's finding that still point. breathing the still point. Here, in this still point down in the gap, and this still point here, and the whole still point, standing in the vesica Pisces, in the womb of your creation, as it were. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I love that. The still point of the
whatever
gap.
Whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because it's all it's a total natural process.
Yeah.
And it's all done for us if we, as you say, get our own way. It's all done for us.
Yeah.
It's all really for us. We just walk the walk.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit, it's going to take a little getting used to, but I know I'm trying to get used to it as quick as I can, because I've seen enough of the magic, as we all have. And we know it's real. It's just getting all this old thought patterns and behaviors and programming and conditioning out of the way, but that seems to be falling quickly. So
it is, and we just play with it, you know.
I like that. That's a good way to put it too. Like you said about, you know, imagine what they look like. Well, that's how this is all created, wasn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
They started imagining.
And the same with nobody knows what it's going to be like, if you like, as we go on through the portal on the other side.
Yeah.
But it's going to be good. It's just going to be more and more and more.
Yeah.
So enjoy the journey. You enjoy the walk.
Yeah. And I learned from you today, look in the rearview mirror, see where you were at that time, not to see where you're at so much, but what were you feeling? You were feeling the same thing you're feeling now. You don't know what was on the other side of that portal, but it worked out okay, right? But you gotta keep driving, right? So where can you mentioned the website? What's your website?
Nicky Hamid.
Okay. Yeah.
Simple. Like me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. You're a beautiful brother. It's such a pleasure talking to you today.
A pleasure talking to you.
I was a little bit roughed up the early part of the day. I didn't sleep any. I didn't know if I could do the show, but there's a reason you were next, and you really calmed me, and I'm sure calmed everybody out there. Thank you for all the work that you do, and the best to you and your wife and your move and all your friends and elementals and ogres and everyone that lives on your property and the new protector. I mean that. So,
I know you do.
Peace out, brother.
God bless you.
Yes, God bless you. You take care.